What if everything you've been seeking, sovereignty, truth, freedom, a new earth, already has a foundation? And what if that foundation is sound money? Welcome to Be the Light. I'm your host, Steven, and let's build the bridge from sound money to a sovereign soul. Hello, and welcome to episode 1 of Be the Light podcast. My name is Stephen Hill, and I will be your host, and I will also be the one who's attempting to build a bridge between two worlds: the spiritual world, spiritual community, and the Bitcoin world. It might feel like a large gap or stretch putting those two together, especially if you don't have any idea of what Bitcoin is. Let me start by introducing myself and how I ended up in this position. Well, I put myself in it. Okay, so I'm just a regular blue collar electrician. Okay, I've been an electrician since 1998. So 28 years now, working in the trades as a union electrician, building things, right? And during that journey, in about 2010, I went into a yoga studio and started doing yoga. The asanas, the physical postures, stretching, and if I felt right at home. So I dove deep into doing yoga. It was hot yoga specifically. A lot of benefits to that, and I didn't really realize, the side benefit was my mind quieting down and really starting to learn more about who I truly was. So shortly after I started doing yoga, I attended a meditation class and fell deep into that rabbit hole of meditation and self-realization. I ended up finding a guru in the Kriya Yoga lineage, which is basically the science of self-realization. My guru was a disciple of the author of Autobiography of a Yogi, Paramahansa Yogananda. So this lineage dates back and has some very real, practical, scientific stages of learning who you truly are and self-realization and God realization. So that sidebar that I took while I was an electrician was definitely solo mission, because there was very few electricians like doing yoga, right? Everything that I had identified myself with, sports, beer drinking, your typical blue collar dude from the peninsula in the Bay Area, I was cookie cut from my surroundings. And then once I journeyed into yoga and meditation, self-realization, I slowly started chopping away things that weren't me, that I was doing because of my, just to fit in. And on that self-realization journey, after about 4 years of doing yoga, I saw an empty building. I was in a new town, Half Moon Bay area, and I was like, they need a hot yoga studio over here, meditation, and this same opportunity that I had. And so I opened up a yoga studio with my and our 4 kids. My 4 kids weren't a part of it, but I had 4 kids at the time. So taking on this business was another wild ride. I tend to get it in over my head pretty quick with my desires. But, anyways, I opened up a very successful hot yoga studio over there. I offered meditation, and I was hoping that people would come in for the asanas and the health the physical health benefits and slowly receive the self awareness benefits that yoga offers. During this time, I also ventured down a Qigong road where I did my 200-hour and 500-hour teacher training. I'm still in that, doing my 1,000-hour teacher training, but I found so many benefits with Qigong, visualization, movement, and breath work. Those things combined, that seemed to be more of a physical awareness, building the physical realm versus yoga, which was almost like escaping the human side of things. So I really like the combination of those two. And also during this journey, I found myself really working to try to escape humanity. I had read all these self help books to try to figure out who I am, become the best version of who I am, and really, master life. But I always had a very difficult time on the financial side of things, right? And that's where Bitcoin came into place, which I didn't find until 2022, I believe. But that was very early stages. And until I dove down the rabbit hole of Bitcoin, and really, it's not about Bitcoin, it was about what money is, that was when it clicked. Okay, so fast forward to today. The reason why I started this podcast is because I was 2 weeks ago at a spiritual event. It's called the New Living Expo. And I've been to these things before. I was wearing a Satoshi shirt. It just says Satoshi on the top. And I'm walking through the vendors, everybody offering, whether it's tarot card reading or chakra cleansing, um, a crystal, all these tools to ascend, right? And the collective desire is to move us into a new earth. And while I'm walking through, several people had stared at my shirt, made comments. One person said, "Nice shirt." But there was a very specific interaction between me and this lady in a booth. I don't remember what booth it was, but her material was intriguing. Um, and so I stopped and looked at it, and she was just staring at my shirt. And she goes, "What does that word mean?" I've asking because I've never seen that word before. It's Satoshi. And wow, did she open up a door of vomit? Probably. I probably was trying to explain too much too quick. But I had said Satoshi is the name of the inventor or the creator of the new Earth energy transfer system. That's how I explained it to her because I was trying to use, the verbiage that would actually land on somebody in a spiritual fair. And she said, "Oh, that's very interesting." Um, and I said, "Well, basically, it's also called Bitcoin." And she said, "Oh, yeah, my kids probably are aware of that, and I've heard of this, but I've also heard like very bad things about it." And I said, "Well, that is exactly what they want you to hear." So, this is I explained to her that because we have a broken money system, um, in order to move into the new earth that we would like to move to, we need a new money system. And the conversation got cut short. But when I was walking away, I was thinking to myself, wow, that really like sparked something in me that it woke me up because a lot of the other conversations just weren't really doing it for me. And the Bitcoin conversation was just felt right at home. And so that is basically why I decided and had the idea that it's necessary that we build this bridge of understanding this flawed common denominator that is infused in the spiritual community and help it bridge the gap that is needed to move into the new earth. So after I left this spiritual fair, I started to think to myself, okay, how can I actually make an effort towards closing this gap and building this? Because I'm a builder, I'm a fixer. It's what I do. I'm solution focused, not problem focused. That's really like what the best journeyman electrician you could ask for if you had people working for you. You don't want people coming up to you with problems. You want people coming up to you with solutions. And so I thought about, all right, let's do a podcast. Why not? I've tried so many different things before, and I really hope this one sticks. It feels natural. I feel excited about it, and I feel knowledgeable enough about both of these worlds to where I can provide valuable content. And in thinking about the first podcast episode, I was reflecting back when my son and daughter were probably 7 and 5, maybe. And I used to take them to the Academy of Sciences over here nearby in Foster City. I think it's Foster City. It's at the Bay Area. And this place is situated out right on the water, on the bay. There's trees around it. It's a beautiful place, beautiful building. They have owls and snakes and all kinds of reptiles and very cool stuff. It's made of like wood, almost looks like a cabin. It's a beautiful, beautiful building. And I remember taking my kids there, and this is why I'm titling this podcast, this first episode, The Hive. There's a window, okay, that you walk past. And in this window, attached is a tube, transparent, clear plastic tube that goes to the outdoors and comes in through a tube and into a big box, transparent box that is a hive, a beehive. It's got their honeycombs and everything in there. The colony is in there. And I just remember observing this tube and seeing these bees frantically scrambling, you know, back and forth through this thing. And you see them coming in, you see them going out, and you see them sitting at the edge and then flying off. And I'm watching them fly off to the trees, to the water, to the flowers, just this beautiful setting. And I'm like wondering, like, why the heck do they come back? And well, okay, they're a part of a team, right? They're taking care of something. They're taking care of a collective, and that's great. That's what bees do. So they go out in search of pollen, and upon the return, they deliver to the hive to take care of one another. And now, when I'm thinking about why do this podcast and the root structure of the issue, I'm going to use the analogy of the pollen. Okay, we are all bees. I go to work as an electrician to collect pollen, right? That's my money. And I want to bring that pollen back. But you got to imagine these bees showing up with little sacks full of pollen. Now imagine if somebody was sitting there at the gate, at the portal, whatever, and snagged half of it. Okay, half of it's being generous. Half of it is being generous. I would say more like 5/8. Okay, and they take half of that, and they only get to bring half back to the colony. Well, now they got to do 2 times as much work as they were doing. That essentially is what we are doing with our current monetary system. We go to work for 7 hours and it gets stolen from. Okay. Not just in taxation, we also have to understand that inflation is also theft. This is kind of a hard concept to understand, but I like to put it as purchasing power. If I earn, let's say in one day, $300, and with that $300 today, I want to go out and buy a shirt, a pair of pants, and a pair of shoes. That's probably being pretty generous with how far my money can go today. Depends on where you go. But let's say $100 for each one of those things. $300 for shirt, pants, shoes. Okay? Now, let's just say I want to put that $300, that energy away into just storage. And in a year and a half from now, I want to go buy the shirt, the shoes, and the pants. Well, I go to the counter with the same items, and the lady says that's going to be $450. So that same $300 no longer has the purchasing power it did a year ago, year and a half ago. So now I have to go work a day and a half to get the same items. Okay, this is not a natural occurrence. This happens when the system in which our energy is stored, aka the dollar, is broken, is being inflated. Because they are printing money out of thin air, they are decreasing the value of our existing dollar. Now, with this existing dollar, we are, as a spiritual community, desiring to create a new reality, desiring to usher one another into what we call the new earth, a place of honesty, virtue, proof of work, energy, equality, and fairness, honesty. So we cannot. I like. It's like, okay, if money is a tool, it is a tool. We bring this, and we are attempting to bring a broken tool to fix something. It's like an electrician coming with wire strippers that don't work to a job. It's going to be very hard for him to get the job done. So we do not want to bring this broken currency, this broken dollar, into our new reality. And thankfully, we have a solution. For the first time ever, we have a solution. Now, this solution is Bitcoin. Now, as I've gone down the rabbit hole of Bitcoin, I cannot help but see the commonalities between the spiritual community and this currency, because it's not just about Bitcoin, it's about learning what money is and understanding the values that a currency should have, the rules, the laws that a currency should have. Now, don't get it twisted. You will hear a lot about crypto. This is a generalized statement. Crypto covers all kinds of different coins. I want you to separate the two, from crypto to just Bitcoin. Okay, now why just Bitcoin? Because Bitcoin was built as a trustless, peer to peer cash system. I can take my 7 hours and put it into Bitcoin. And when I come visit your booth and I want to get your homemade cutting board, or your crystal that you worked hard for to acquire, um, I should be able to send that straight to you without having a middleman and without having you to trust me. Okay, if I gave you a bar of gold or a little chunk of gold, you'd actually have to melt that thing down just to make sure it's real. Okay, and plus nobody wants to be carrying around heavy bars of gold. And, I could purchase something from you if you were in the middle of Argentina or Africa. These are places where the dollar has been devalued completely. Okay, these are going to be the first ones that actually seek out a new form of energy storage. We got to think of money as energy storage. Bitcoin is the perfect energy storage unit. Why? Because in its design, it has a limited amount of 21 million. There will be no more. They cannot make any more. This is part of the open source code. So, with that 21 million, it can be infinitely divisible. That's another aspect you need to have in your money. It needs to be divisible. It needs to be able to move through time and space quickly, right? I want to be able to buy something across another country. I shouldn't actually have to go ask a bank in order to send money, buy something, and then there's no middleman. They're going to take you. No, I'm getting lost there. We don't want them snagging a part of it just because I want to buy something from you. So Bitcoin is also decentralized. There's no ruler. There's no CEO. It is ruled by the people who run the nodes. It would be a collective in order to make any changes to this. And it really, if you make any change, it's going to destroy its value. So it's incentive driven. We have to follow the incentives. If we follow the incentives of our current fiat system, which stands for by decree, so trust us basically, because it's not connected to anything anymore. It's not connected to gold. They took that off, I believe, in 1971. So this allows them the ability to just print whatever they want. And whoever is closest to the printing spigot benefits the most. Us folk down here, us blue collar, hard-working people, cannot win at this game. There's just not enough time in the world for us to get ahead if we are trading our time for money. I don't see trading your time for money as a bad thing. I actually enjoy my job. I enjoy going to work. I enjoy building. But I need to work 24/7 just to get ahead, and they don't allow me to do that. I don't really want to do that either. I'm cool with my regular work week. Because of this fixed supply, we have a currency available that falls under the laws of nature. Just as energy does not die, it transforms. So every time they print another dollar, they're stealing energy. They're stealing your time. Bitcoin is the door to the reality, the new earth in which we desire so badly to move into. We need to move into. It is here and we got to get going. We need to make sure we have a solid foundation in order to build. You don't have to choose between spirituality and Bitcoin. They are the same. Inner sovereignty meets outer sovereignty, as within, so without. I'm Stephen Hill. This is Be the Light, Sound Money, Sovereign Soul. Follow along on Spotify and share this with a person who in the spiritual community who you think might want to hear it. And I hope to see you on the next episode. Thanks for watching.